Welcome to some new r/malicious compliance stories, where people comply to the letter, but not the spirit of a request. I hope you had a great day. The first story is called Cleaning the Registers. I work in the store where you pay for a card and the cashiers all sit. The store floors frequently get pretty dirty, because, well, there are a lot of customers coming in and out, especially at the time this happened. I'm doing some backstock when the department manager comes up to me and says, "Hey, store manager wants you to scrub produce in the register area. Keep in mind, our scrubber is a behemoth, loud and can be difficult to maneuver. Not the best equipment to pull out at 5 PM on a Monday. Also, there are lines 8 to 10 people deep at both open registers." I point this out to the manager and she just shrugs, saying, "Just get it done." Okay then, I pull out the scrubber and happen to get a lucky break. Produce is empty, so it only takes me a couple of minutes. Now the registers, still crowded. I take the scrubber around the empty registers, feeling the glare of customers on my back. Whether it was from the noise or the rate, I don't know, nor do I care. Now I'm left with the 2 jam-packed registers. There's no way I could ask people to wait a moment to let me through. They are already set off. I can see the manager coming, gesturing at me to get it done. So I do the most efficient thing I can think of. I go to the back of the line, shut down the scrubber and wait. And wait, and wait, and wait. Customers are lining up behind me, and the cashiers are holding back a laugh as I creep closer. Finally, I'm next, and I run the scrubber through the registers. Thankfully, the line on the second register cleared just as I was finishing the first, so all done. I take the scrubber back to the back room, and I had just started to empty it when the store manager comes storming in. "Why did that take you so long? Scrubbing is supposed to go quickly. We are too busy for you to be standing around. You wanted me to scrub the registers, but the registers were packed." I told the manager that it would take a while. "You weren't scrubbing, you were just standing in line." Yep, that was the best way to get through the line. The store manager and I have a stare down for a few seconds before she throws her hands up and walks away. And I have never been asked to scrub the registers during peak times again. The next story is called This Cost Millions. I worked as quality control at a factory. To get started, I'll explain their report process. When something goes wrong in the factory that's directly tied to quality, such as bad coloring or defects, I, as a quality lead, would have to write a report. These reports were very detailed and extremely time consuming. Now, when something went wrong that wasn't directly tied to quality, but affected it, the lead in charge of the machines was supposed to write the report. Somehow, all the reports ended up being written by me, even though I had my own time consuming job to do. I had been fighting to not do others' reports for months, and my boss told me to remind other leads when a report was needed. One day, I'm doing my reports, plus my other duties, and I hear over the radio that a refrigerator unit has gone out, and all the product was coming out as a boiled mush instead of frozen. So I call refrigeration and tell them, "You need to do a report on this." I send out an email counting how many pallets of product we lost. So I sent the email and continue on with my day. 2 weeks later, my boss calls me into her office and asks me why I didn't write a report on the incident. "You told me to remind the other leads to do it and not write their reports." Well, if you have time to send an email, you have time to write a report. Then she makes me write a sign up for failure to do my duties. Well, a couple of months later and the exact same thing happens, and all I do is tell refrigeration over the radio to write a report. I did nothing else, knowing that refrigeration wouldn't write it. Because there was no report or helpful emails, the product was almost shipped out 2 months later, but it was caught by one of my QAs who mentioned the incident to my boss. Boss calls me to her office and tells me, "This incident is going to cost the company millions in storage fees for the time it was already stored, disposal fees, lost product and a fine from Walmart for not meeting the contract. Why didn't you email me about this?" I didn't have the time, but I did tell refrigeration to write a report. She couldn't write me up for it, cause I had emails from her telling me how to handle these situations. The third story is called Shouldn't Take the Fridge. I work at a retail corporation that also has a garage. I work in the garage. Keep in mind that we have no AC in the garage, so it gets to be well over 90 degrees most days in the summer. We had a fridge that we used to keep cold drinks and food in. The other day, our regional manager came in and told us we were no longer allowed to have the fridge or our coffee maker. We originally were told they'd be getting rid of it, but instead they decided to put it in the manager's office. So my wonderful manager decided to store us a bunch of ice every single day. If they take our fridge, we are slowly going to take their profits. More and more by the day. The last story is called Eye Contact. I used to work retail in a CD store in Australia. We had computers that we could use to find certain titles and artists in the store. We could check if we had it in stock, or we could even order from any of the other 300 plus stores in the country and we have it shipped to the store. Many people would use this for older CDs or collector items that were harder to get. One day an older bloke came in, asking about a certain smaller 80s rock band that I can't remember. I looked on the computer for him and was able to track down the album names. I got his details to enter into the computer for when the albums arrived in the store so that we could contact him. He thanked me and said that he was so happy that we could get these albums for him and left the store. The next day I get called into the boss's office because of a customer complaint. It was and is my only ever complaint in any job for the past 9 years of working. He had rung up and complained that while my service was lovely, I didn't make enough eye contact when I was using the computer. Cue malicious compliance. 3 days later he came in because he had another band he wanted to order. Luckily I was working. As soon as he walked in, I greeted him with the biggest smile and looked him straight in the eyes. When he asked if we had any of his band in stock, I typed it into the computer while maintaining direct eye contact. It took me about 4 tries to find the right keyboard letters as I wasn't that great at touch typing. He was starting to get annoyed, but he didn't voice it. Then I had to search what store location these albums were at. That took another couple of attempts to type. I turned the computer monitor around to the point it looked like it was going to snap off. I had to move displays from the counter, which took more time. But finally I was able to set it up at such an angle that I could read it off with a quick glance but also still maintain eye contact. At this point he started to squirm and look away, but I was only beginning. Next was his details and taking his deposit, usually $10. It took me a solid 6 attempts to enter his details into the system, as he had to select each box to type in, and that was hard, considering I wasn't looking. At this point he had gone rather quiet and was looking at his shoes. When he handed me his money, I still maintained direct eye contact. I even dropped it accidentally out of my hand, which then led to me awkwardly slap around on the counter until my hand found it. Wouldn't want to break that eye contact looking for a few coins. After all the typing attempts, it took me an extra 10 minutes to serve him all because I couldn't look at what I was doing. To this day I've seen him a couple of times, but he won't come to my register and he doesn't make eye contact or hides in the aisles until I'm busy with another customer. A shame really, he has such lovely brown eyes. And with that we end today's video. Let me know what you think about the stories. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate the stories in today's video? I hope you enjoyed the video. If you like what I do and would like to support me, please subscribe and hit the like button. I hope you have a great day. Stay safe. Bye bye.